Somebody suck me!
Welcome back to Banging the Can, the Houston sports show that does not apologize for championship rings and tings, with new episodes twice weekly, presented by Bolen Media. I am Ross Bolen, and your Houston Rockets now sit at 22 wins, 12 losses after last night's absolutely disgusting showing against the Portland Trail Blazers. Currently, the Rockets occupy the 6th seed in the Western Conference behind the T-Wolves, Lakers, Nuggets, Spurs, and Thunder. And you know what? That's about right. 34 games into the Kevin Durant era, this Rockets team has proven they are capable of playing with the best teams in the NBA, the real championship contenders, the Thunder, the Nuggets, the Spurs, whoever is pretending to be a threat in the East. But over the last several weeks, they've also proven they are capable of losing to any team in the NBA on any given night. If you are watching on YouTube right now, hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications so you know every time we drop a new episode. Throw us a like on this video and leave a comment in the comment section when one occurs to you over the course of today's show. If you're on Apple Podcasts, subscribe, give us a 5-star rating, write a quick review. If you're on Spotify, we'll take a 5-star rating there as well. Please and thank you. In fairness, the Rockets have been without Alperen Sengun for a few games, which has only solidified how important he is to this team offensively, and Sengun is expected to return in 10 to 14 days. Tari Eason was out for a bit. Dorian Finney-Smith finally made his Rockets debut on Christmas Day against the Lakers. Steven Adams isn't playing in back-to-backs. So we have rarely seen a full-strength Rockets team this season, even omitting the obvious absence of Fred VanVleet, who is out for what is likely to be the entire season. The Rockets started the season without a point guard, and Reed Sheppard is still growing into that role, so there's been a lot going on. Not to mention, this is a completely new iteration of the Rockets with Kevin Durant and without Jalen Green and Dillon Brooks. So growing pains were to be expected, and a hot start sort of made me forget that. So yeah, I'm not making excuses. I'm just stating facts. All that being said, the offense has been a fucking mess without Alperen Sengun to start 2026. Thank God for that Kevin Durant buzzer beater against the Suns, or we would be in a substantially darker place right now as a fan base. The Rockets still have a lot of growing to do between now and April when the playoffs start. They've got 48 games left to play in the regular season. 48 games. So there's going to be plenty of time for them to continue gelling, get healthy, and hone in on effective strategies for this roster, both offensively and defensively. But there's been a glaring amount of inconsistency for this team so far this season. Kevin Durant is Kevin Durant. You know he can shoot. You know he can score. You know he's going to lead the team in scoring. But with Alperen Sengun out, you're lacking in a reliable second scorer because Kade is giving you 26 points per game. Alperen is giving you 21. And third is Amen Thompson with 18 points per game. And if you're watching the games, you're aware that Amen Thompson can't shoot for shit. He's shooting 20% from behind the arc this season. All of his points are coming at the rim or deep into the paint. He's still a beast when driving to the hoop. He's obviously great defensively, but he's not able to take advantage of the spacing created by Kevin Durant getting doubled. So he's bricking almost every three he takes, even from the corner, which has led him to pass up a lot of open looks. Behind Amen Thompson, you've got Jabari Smith Jr. at 15 points per game, and Jabari is a guy that the Rockets desperately hoped would continue to develop and take the next step offensively this season. Definitely the dude I would have hoped would pick up the slack more with Alperen Sengun out, but it simply has not happened. Last night against Portland, with Sengun out, Jabari Smith Jr. was 2 for 13 from the field, 1 for 7 behind the arc for 6 points. That's in 36 minutes of play. This is Jabari's 4th season in the NBA. He's had 3 full seasons to develop, and way too often he still looks like a dude who's trying to find his identity as a pro. The Rockets and their fans all thought having Kevin Durant on the team would help Jabari to take the next step, but it hasn't. It hasn't. You're still seeing flashes of what Jabari is capable of, like here and there, but that was the case year 1, and year 2, and year 3, and this is year 4. And those flashes aren't appearing any more consistently than they were the first 3 years. So yeah, you're going to have games where Reed Shepherd pops off or Tari Eason fills it up. But until Amen Thompson gets more aggressive or develops a jump shot, or you're getting more consistency from Jabari Smith Jr. when Alperen Sengun is out especially, points are going to be hard to come by. And even when Alp is back, the rest of these dudes are going to have to do a better job of taking advantage of the looks that him and KD are getting for them, or this team is going to have a hard time making a deep run in the playoffs, point blank. So that's where we're at offensively. That's the gist of it for the Rockets offensively right now. Now let's talk defense. Last year, the Rockets were respected as one of the best defensive teams in the league, bar none. And they're still a top 10 defensive team this year, but the lockdown defense we became accustomed to seeing as their trademark the last two seasons, it sort of comes and goes this season based on which lineup is on the floor. Like, there are stretches where I'm like, holy shit, we're never going to give up another point. Amen Thompson has somebody locked the fuck up. Tari Eason has somebody in hell. Durant's length is making it impossible for anyone to get a clean look. Josh Okogie is glued to someone's hip. Steven Adams is protecting the paint. And I'm like, shit, this is it. This is it. Then next thing I know, we've subbed out one or two of those guys, and we give up a 10-0 run, and we're losing. It's incredibly confusing and frustrating, and I'm just using that lineup as a random example. If you're watching the games, you know what I'm talking about. There's just not as much of a cohesive defensive identity as there has been on past iterations of Ime Udoka Rockets teams. And I honestly think some of this comes from the lineup inconsistency that I mentioned earlier. With Sengun out now, it's even worse. With Adams not playing back-to-backs, Tari Eason missing time, DFS not playing until Christmas Day. But this has been the theme of the season. Some nights you're watching championship caliber basketball. Other nights you're watching a 6 seed in the Western Conference. And now the standings reflect the latter. Now, I'm not even close to hitting the panic button. I think the Rockets will be fine. If you wanted to trade for Trae Young, you should slap the shit out of yourself because you are one silly little slut. I am completely cool with letting this roster continue to gel, let them learn and grow together, but somebody besides Kevin Durant is going to have to step up as a leader. KD is a leader. I am not saying Kevin Durant is not a leader, but even he has said repeatedly himself that he leads as one of the guys. He's not coming out there like, I'm the man, I'm a 2-time champion and finals MVP, you all listen to me. So one of these younger guys, preferably Amen Thompson, needs to become a more vocal leader and tone setter. This is where we miss Fred VanVleet the most, in my opinion. Amen, Jabari, these dudes are cut from a pretty similar, humble, pretty soft-spoken cloth. Yes, Amen will fight opposing teams and talk his shit, don't get me wrong. But when it comes to being vocal with his teammates, getting dudes to inhabit like a killer instinct and mentality, Amen isn't really doing that. Jabari is definitely not doing that. Sengun isn't really doing that. There's no real tone setter on this team right now that I can see with my two eyes in my head. And again, I would argue where this is where trading Dillon Brooks, who was absolutely a tone setter, and losing Fred VanVleet to injury, Fred was absolutely a tone setter as well, has sort of backfired a bit. I'm not saying the Kevin Durant trade wasn't absolutely 110% the right move to make. It was. It absolutely was. But there's an identity shift that is occurring, and the Rockets are still finding their footing. So for now, we just keep watching and hope to see momentum week over week as this team gets healthy. But for right now, they're not in the same tier as the Thunder or the Spurs. I'd say the Rockets and Nuggets are right below the Thunder and Spurs. That's my judgment. And as we all know, the Nuggets have dealt with a lot of injuries as well. So that's in large part the reason they're not in the very tippy top tier. The Rockets play Portland on the road again Friday night. What the fuck is this schedule? And then again Sunday against the Kings in Sacramento. We need to see 2 wins this weekend. Need it. Need this team to start building momentum game to game again. They had a good bit of momentum during that stretch after the first 2 losses to open the season. But they have surrendered it, and they have not regained it. They've had great games, some in stretches even. But in terms of stacking wins and playing the same way every night, this past few weeks has gotten shakier and shakier and gotten me to the point where I'm like, okay, I can see we're not quite where we need to be yet. So there's still some growth that we need to see with this Rockets team before they can be considered a legitimate championship contender a la Thunder or, unfortunately to say, the Spurs. In huge Astros news, the Stros actually made a pretty massive offseason splash, signing Japanese right-handed starting pitcher Tatsuya Imai to a 3-year deal with player options, player opt-outs after each of the first 2 seasons. I honestly did not have this dude, Tatsuya, on my radar at all. I just assumed all Japanese players were contractually obligated to sign with the Dodgers, but apparently he's very solid. And as I said last season, it feels like the Astros have all the talent they need on offense. It really does. Like, injuries absolutely destroyed this team last season, but between Yordan Alvarez, Isaac Paredes, Jeremy Pena, Carlos Correa, Yanier Diaz, Jose Altuve, there's enough offensive firepower on this team to compete with anyone if those core guys can stay healthy. Last year, we lost Isaac Paredes to injury. Yordan missed chunks of time. Correa joined at the deadline. Yanier had a bit of a down year with some slumping in there. And then everyone on the pitching staff not named Hunter Brown or Framber Valdez was hurt or returning from Tommy John or getting Tommy John. Point being, I'm not really worried about the offense, and we'll see if any other trades take place or moves are made as far as dealing with having too many infielders potentially, but pitching was the place this Astros roster really needed to be solidified. The signing of Tatsuya Imai goes a long way to making that happen. We also grabbed Mike Burrows from the Pirates, so between Hunter Brown, Tatsuya, Christian Javier, Arrighetti, Burrows, Jason Alexander, JP France, LMJ, on and on the list goes, they have a ton of options for the pitching rotation. Ronel Blanco should be back in the summer as well. It's good shit from the Astros. Good shit. This Tatsuya signing makes the loss of Mauricio Dubon hurt a lot less, makes it make a lot more sense. And honestly, the more I thought about Dubon after the fact, the more I get why they moved on. I love Doobie. I love him. Don't get me wrong. All-time great utility guy. All-time great good guy. And just one of the most lovable Astros we've ever had. But when Dubon was not hitting, which was all too often last season, that's a difficult amount of money to justify when you're trying to remain under the luxury tax and compete for a championship. Tatsuya is a rock star, though. I have never seen a dude come from overseas and immediately exhibit this much aura in any league. He was at the Texans' final regular season game against the Colts, seated between Astros owner Jim Crane and his agent, Scott Boras. Then he was at the Rockets game against the Suns, where KD drained the game winner right in front of him, actually. And this dude was born for the spotlight. He eats it up. He loves it. Just an incredible character, almost to the point where if he wasn't an Astro, it would be funny if he came out and just got shelled next season. But seriously, I'm looking forward to seeing him on the bump. I hope he's a reliable number 2 or even number 3 guy, maybe behind Hunter Brown and I guess potentially Christian Javier or Jason Alexander. Because Framber Valdez is a free agent, and this team needs quality starting pitching depth to make a run next season. Facts. Texans face off against the Steelers on Monday night at 7:15, so our first episode next week will come Tuesday, so I can discuss that win. Gonna be a win. I feel it in my plums. Go Texans, and that will do it for today's show. Remember, we have new episodes dropping twice weekly on youtube.com/@bangingthecan, usually Monday and Friday. Just depends on scheduling conflicts, and like next week, for example, the Texans are playing Monday, so it doesn't make any sense for me to drop an episode Monday. I'm gonna drop it Tuesday so I can talk about the Texans game. We're also on all the podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, like, turn on notifications, leave us a comment. If you're on Apple Podcasts, rate and review. If you're on Spotify, give us a 5-star rating. And on that note, please share the most unapologetic Houston sports show in existence with your friends and family. Tell your moms, your dads, your aunts, your uncles, your brothers, your sisters, your friends about Banging the Can. Follow us on social media at Banging the Can on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Threads. I'm Ross Bolen. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at WRBolen, and I will be back Tuesday next week to discuss the results of Texans-Steelers. Until next time, H-Town, stay down.